What's up, everybody? Well, today I thought I'd go ahead and show you a vacuum that I had in my collection for some time and have neglected to show it until now. Here I present to you a Rainbow D4c. And this is the original D4c before it was renamed the SE. One thing I've always wanted a D4 model ever since I had my D3, because these were the newer model and I wanted to see how these worked compared to the D3s. But I was having a difficult time finding a D4 because these things were so expensive across eBay and a lot of other selling platforms, because these were the more desirable Rainbow models. They're old enough so that they're super reliable, and parts are still available for them compared to the D3s. And it's just an overall a lot better and more improved machine compared to the D3s. I will admit that. So, how I stumbled across this was I bought this off a seller locally on OfferUp for only 50 bucks. I kid you not. And it came with the motor unit, the wheel caddy, and the electric hose, and the power brush. And it was completely functional. There was absolutely nothing wrong with it. And I pretty much got the steal of a deal in getting this. Of course, I did do some things here and there. I added the tool rack that originally I had retrofitted on my D4c, but I threw it on this because, let's be honest, this tool rack was made to fit a D4. And it does look pretty good. Of course, all the attachments that are on it right now are not the original. This dusting brush I know for a fact is not original. This is just a generic aftermarket dusting brush. It's not even a Rainbow part. And neither is this crevice tool that I just flung across the room. Right there. Yeah, I had it well shoved right down in there so it holds in place. And you have your bare floor tool right here. This was the only tool that it came with, and it didn't actually come with a wet hose. It was actually it did. It was just so worn out that it was unusable. And here's a generic replacement upholstery tool. But it does come with the original hose with the external wire that mounts around the outside for the power brush and gets connected right up at the motor unit. Very similar in its design, like the D3. And even the power brush design is similar to the D3. It basically has this selection right here for carpet selector. What basically this is just sloughs off airflow for high pile carpets so it doesn't stick down to whatever carpet surface. I always like to leave it on low just for the pile of this carpet, and so the power brush can get its most airflow for better cleaning performance. And of course, right up here you have your little rainbow logo right there, embossed there. Also, you have your little indicator light to let you know that the power brush is operational. And you also do have a little reset button should you get some jam and it shuts the brush roll off to save the motor, and you can just press that reset button and you're back in business. Let's go ahead and turn it underneath. Here is the power brush, or the brush roll I should say, for said power brush. It has these very soft bristles, but it also has these beater bars. Again, same brush roll design like the D3. And the beater bars do have a little bit of wear. In fact, these things should be considered beater plastics because they're basically a strip of plastic that basically is a beater bar, and it's not really metal, but it's not a major deal. You have another set of bristles over here. Pretty interesting brush roll design. Definitely has good agitation, I will admit that. And here's the brush roll model number. It's Rainbow Power Brush Model R2800C by Rexair Incorporated in Cadillac, Michigan. For household use only, 120 volts, 60 hertz. It is a 1.4 amp brush roll motor. And how these get power is there's an external cord that runs all the way up this plastic holder on the upper wand and runs all the way to the top of the hose and gets connected right up there. Very simple in its design before they went to the later hose design that has the handle grip on top and it has a wire that runs through the hose, comes out there and gets connected at the motor unit. And right up here it shows you to avoid electrical shock, use indoors only and use receptacle for models R28C power brush only. Well, that's not entirely true. You can run the newer style PN2 with this, and it won't hurt or damage the motor at all. It may draw a little bit more current because the PN2 has a little bit more powerful of a motor, but that's not going to be a major deal. And along the back here, oh wait, before we continue on, let's go ahead and show you the inside of the water bin. Oh, and right here you have your little separator cleaning brush. Basically this has very, very stiff bristles to clean out the dirt buildup that could eventually get on the separator over times. And speaking of which, here's the separator. This is the later design for the separator that eventually went on into the SE models. This definitely has much better airflow than the old style separator that was used on early model D4s. That was essentially a carryover from the D3. It worked good, but this separator design greatly improved suction and airflow. And also the water bin right here has been pre-filled with water. This is a 2-quart water basin. And here are your wheel caddies wheels down here. Interesting shiny and gold rollers right there. And for now, there's really not that much else to say about it. Let's put the clamps back on. These are the original style clamps on the side. And let's go ahead and reattach the upholstery tool. Reconnect the hose. All right, now let's go ahead and go on to the back where the cord is mounted. Right here is the little release lever right here that releases your power cord. And the cord is surprisingly long for a canister. I wouldn't expect it to even be this long because the length of the hose will make up for how short the cord is. But it's pretty good. Let's go and plug this guy in. Now we'll go ahead and turn this thing on and demo it for you guys. First, I'll go ahead and show you it running with just the motor only so you can tell how smooth it is. The power switch is actually on top of the motor unit instead of on the back like the old D3s were. So let's go ahead and switch it on. Motor runs very smooth, and you can definitely hear the sound of it. Definitely sounds almost near identical to a D3. You wouldn't even guess that this has a totally different motor design. Basically, this was more so to improve not just suction and airflow, but also for motor longevity. Because for the longest time, the D3s had a motor design where when the suction comes in, it actually flows through the motor, which created a cooling effect, which worked good for a while, but eventually, if the big problem that has is if the motor were to tip on its side with water in the basin, water could get sucked up into the motor and damage it. Which Rainbow eventually solved this by having the water having the suction flow up through here through a 3-stage fan, and it eventually exhausts out over the water basin. And how the motor gets cooled is actually there's a cooling fan on the opposite side of the motor that sucks in through here and flows out into the motor to keep it cool, which definitely solved the water getting sucked up into the motor problem. And so you won't damage the motor, but you might eventually rust out the fans. But the motor failures weren't as much compared to the D3s back then. Also back here is your little exhaust cap right here, so you can attach the hose on the end and use this as a blower. Very weird design, but not too many people know that's what you actually can do here if you remove the little cap. You also do have these little parts that squeeze on the side to let you release it much better. And for now, let's go ahead and cut to the chase here and give you an official run. So here we go. Let's go ahead and turn it on. Oops. I think yep, just as I thought, the cord got pulled out of the power brush. That's the thing that's unfortunate to happen to these as they age. The cord just doesn't hold on to the motor unit very well. My D3 has the same problem. You just have to get enough slack in the cord just so it doesn't pull out on you. But this is just to give you an idea of how quiet the machine is. I can basically talk over the thing and I'm not having to yell. Also, just look how low profile this is. That's one thing I like about canisters. This is coming from a guy who normally likes to use uprights over canisters. Definitely tell just how smooth this thing runs. Before we end the video, we'll go ahead and show it to you in tool mode. Basically, I can just break out my spare wet hose that I have here that originally was for my D3, but it will fit this, and I'm just bringing it out just for demonstration purposes. So, it just connects in like so, and let's go ahead and turn it on. Fairly pretty good suction, I will tell you that. Your crevice tool, not swinging across the room like last time. Lastly, I'm going to show you just how the bare floor tool attaches. Basically take a little metal extension wand, insert it at the end like so, and twist it around so that it locks. Connect your other metal extension wand, connect the wand at the end, and now you've got yourself a bare floor tool. Of course, it would work much better if it were on bare floors. Alright, now let's go ahead and put this back in. just for a little quick see, let's go ahead and remove the motor unit and see what this thing picked up. Oh, look at that. Did pick up a little bit there. And just to give you a heads up, I actually vacuumed in this room yesterday. And some of you longtime followers probably know that I do have a cat, and sometimes her shedding is the responsibility for testing, for me having vacuums that test the ability to pick up pet hair. And that was just how much got pulled up in that just little run. So now let's go ahead and reattach the power brush, or at least the electric hose. And there we go. Well, everybody, I hope you've enjoyed this full walk-around review and brief little test run of the Rainbow D4c. Be sure and stay tuned, and don't forget to like, rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.